Babe, I think we're live.
I think we're live too. Are you scared?
I'm paralyzed, so is that a yes?
Yeah.
What are people gonna think of us?
I don't know. I'm kind of worried.
I'm so scared what people might be judging. Do you think they'll know?
Know what?
Exactly. They'll know that there's nothing to know.
We don't really know what we're doing up here. We're making it up as we go, aren't we?
I'm terrified. Babe, just don't screw this up for me.
I won't, I promise. I'll do my best to mind my P's and Q's.
Okay.
Yeah. Even if I fall on my face, I know you'll catch me.
And if you fall on your face from a seated position, then we're going to question your balance. Welcome, everybody, to what we're maybe calling the Purposeful Pointlessness Show, episode 19, if I count correctly. And if I count incorrectly, it's still called episode 19. So, hope you're doing well tonight. And if you're not doing well, then I guess I just discounted your very existence. But welcome. I have a special guest. Can you guess who it is? This is my lovely lady, Amber Zuxworth. So I'm so happy to have you, on this show. And you might have seen Amber in the If Trump Drank Ayahuasca video, and we'll maybe talk about that
Yeah, that was fun.
later. But yay, welcome.
Thank you so
lady.
much for having me. It means a lot that you invited me onto the Purposeless Pointless Show. Did I say it right?
You said it absolutely wrong.
Okay, how does it go? Uh-oh.
So
Serious
you
face.
really don't know the name of my show that you're on?
I guess not. I guess I just totally messed that up.
I feel like you're not looking at me. You keep looking at the camera.
I care more about these people than you.
I care more about them than me, too. Purposeful Pointlessness Show. Better have it right next time.
Oh, I will.
Would before we talk about whatever we don't know we're going to talk about, would you care to share with people who you think you are?
Oh, wow. Yeah, so my name is Amber. I live in Costa Rica. I live in Manuel Antonio, Costa Rica. And right now I produce retreats and teacher training programs full-time.
Mm-hmm.
And I teach Pilates and yoga. I teach plant-based nutrition. And I work with plant medicine as well. So shamanism is a huge part of the retreats and teacher training programs that I produce.
I like that. Plant-based medicine, plant-based nutrition, basically plant-based anything that ends with an N, sort of. And why do you think I'm so lucky that I get to have you in my life?
Ooh. Maybe because I expand your heart a lot. I maybe force you into... Not force you, but just play with you in new spaces, new adventures, and we learn and grow together so much. I think that's why I'm super impactful in your life.
I definitely, that feels true to me, especially the heart expansion, and especially everything else you said too. I think I said especially, but it's pronounced especially, people.
It's okay, I heard it anyway,
Yeah.
You just smooth over that. It's all
good. Do as I say, not as I talk. So Amber and I have had, a recent adventure in Asheville. I was very, very blessed to have a show there that I performed, spoke at. I don't really know what to call it, so I'll call it perform. It was a book event, so I did stand-up comedy, stand-up authenticity in Asheville with all of you weird Subaru Outback driving hippies. I love you guys. Thank you, everybody who came out. And that show was special for me for a few reasons. I don't know if I'm talking to you or I'm talking to you, her.
It's all the same.
I'll start referring to Amber in the third person for the rest of the show.
I'm not here at all.
I think she knows I'm talking about her. But for me, Asheville was so exciting for a few reasons. One, so many people came out. I mean, the show sold out, and that's probably just my ego bragging, telling you guys so you think I'm cool.
Well deserved though, for sure.
You.
Yeah. cool.
Yeah, and we met a lot of people on the streets of Asheville who wanted to come to the show, but they couldn't because the tickets were sold out. So that was just like a great all-around blessing. I felt super loved. Yeah. And then here were the super special parts of the show. Amber was there with me, which was very meaningful to me. That was the first book event that I've done that she was able to attend. I don't know how many book events I've done, probably 7 or 8 or 9, maybe 1,000. Maybe it's all one, so I haven't done anything but one yet. That's quantum physics, love. And then my parents were there. Yeah, so that was the first like professional anything I've ever done where my parents were there as far as like speaking or performing. Yeah. So that was so cool. And you met my parents.
I know, and they were such amazing people, and we got to sit together and laugh.
They might be watching this, so say really good things.
Of course. I only mean it though. Truly, like such sweet people, and wow, it was like so cool to see their eyes light up. You know, not seeing you do your performance and your book signing either. For us both to sit together, you know, me and your mom and your dad, to like just experience it together and laugh together and. See their eyes light up and just being so proud of you, which I am so proud of you. And I get to, it was really hard for me being in Costa Rica the last 3 months and seeing him do his tour and wanting to be there for your book launch in Boulder and being like, oh, I wish I could be there, and sending him little videos on his phone like, I hope you have a great show and everything. But so to be there meant a lot to me, you know, to be in the front row and to took some pictures for him and stuff like that. And it was, super special.
Yeah. I want to get like competitive with you and say like it meant more to me than it did to you, but I think it meant a lot to each of us. And a lot of people in Asheville Asheville, North Carolina, if you're like questioning what Asheville we're talking about. It's not Nashville, Asheville. But a lot of people were saying like, JP, you should do a video about Asheville.
Yeah, a lot of good material there.
Yeah, and I think Asheville deserves a video to be done at it. And at the same time, I think all my videos are sort of about Asheville. Yeah. So Asheville, maybe you should pay attention. Maybe all the videos have been done about you already. And I'm curious, what did you think of Asheville? It's very also spiritual.
I loved it. Yeah, I felt like it was my tribe. I walked into this cafe one day. I think the first afternoon we got there, we went to this place called Green Sage Cafe, and they had just a really organic, locally grown menu. They had different quotes on the walls and things that were just all about sustainability and green living. And so for me, I was like, oh, my people, like I feel so in alignment with this lifestyle. So it felt really good to be there, and everyone's so kind and open-hearted. And so welcoming for you. I mean, JP got stopped, like, I think 10 people a day were coming up and saying, hey, JP, and I feel like they really already watch all your stuff. You know, they're very into it. So I really loved going to the Blue Ridge Mountains, though, to the Blue Ridge Parkway. We went up for an afternoon adventure to hike around, and wow, such sacred land, you guys. Like, talk about an energetic place to call home. I mean, I can see why there's so many young families there, and why people are just really magnetized there. Like, they go there once and then they end up moving, and you can see why. Like, it's such a conscious community of people that are all about sustainability and community and family, and so you can see it. It's really fun.
So how much do you hate the earth?
I don't think hate is even in my vocabulary when it's in relation to the earth. Okay. Yeah, that's a hard one, JP. You kind of threw me under the bus on that one.
Just wanted to make sure when you said the green people were your people. I just wanted to make sure I knew what you're talking about. But yeah, I think there's something very magical about Asheville, no question about it. The Blue Ridge Mountains definitely were a highlight for me.
Yeah, so pretty.
And I find like the mystery behind some of these vortexes, some of these towns that are vortexes. Some would say Sedona. I've never been there. I would definitely say Boulder, Colorado, definitely Asheville, definitely Byron Bay, Australia. I think parts of Encinitas, California, that's kind of. But I just wonder, like, what the heck is it about these specific spots on Earth that attract so many like-minded and I think more significantly like-hearted people who are what I would judge to be incredibly good-natured people who are very respectful of our planet, people who are very respectful of themselves, very respectful of each other, very respectful of future generations of weird people who they haven't even met, who haven't even been born. So where was I going? Like, that's just all a mystery to me. Like, wow, why do so many like-minded, like-hearted people show up in these vortex? What causes the vortex? Amber, do you know that?
I don't know 100%, but I have an inkling that it has to do with the energetics of the land. So I think it's a higher vibration in those places. And if you, what I've heard and read about those specific vortex acupuncture places on the earth, they call them like acupuncture spots, is that they're just their electromagnetic radiation or their electromagnetic field is much stronger, like more powerful, higher vibration.
Yeah.
And so because of that, which makes sense, it would attract people that are more heart open, that are more in a space of love. That's a really high vibration, and so it would attract those people, I would assume. And so yeah, it was so interesting to see how Asheville is very much a little bubble in the state of North Carolina that's otherwise known as being really conservative and. You know, so.
By conservative, we might mean crappy. But we really mean conservative. Yeah. I just thought it'd be funnier if I said crappy.
It worked.
Like, how amused are you right now?
Very. Más o menos.
Sometimes I actually have to tell Amber when she's heavily amused by me because she pretends that she's not. I am very funny and charming.
Extremely. And he knows it. So glad, he knows it and can speak so highly of himself.
So on your wisdom about the electromagnetic fields being stronger, this might be similar or different, I'm not sure, but I've heard about the magnetic fields. Which are all magnetic fields electromagnetic? Do you know?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I'm just going to say I have no idea. But what I've heard is that like they use electromagnetic readers so that to measure the energy of the land.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's the same thing. I don't know.
Okay, could be.
We're just making this up. I mean, this is what I've heard. I don't know.
Yeah, it's science. Like, nobody's even really proven that science exists. So I certainly don't limit myself by knowing science. So whether electromagnetic fields are the same thing or a little bit of a different thing than just magnetic fields that the Earth creates, who knows? But here I go on this one. What I've read in a book called 2012, The Mystery, I think this was one of the contributing authors was Greg Braden, but he talks about how on various parts of the Earth, the magnetic field is stronger. So it's got to be different. So the magnetic field, when it's stronger, is correlated to more of a like slow consciousness. So people being rooted in tradition, not progression. And he talks about like how Russia has a very strong magnetic field. And what he talks about, Greg Braden, is how we have millions of tiny, basically mineral particles in our brain that are incredibly influenced by the magnetic field on the Earth. Part of the Earth that we're on. Hence, like just the magnetic field of the Earth is pulling your brain down. So he correlates that with basically just lack of consciousness. And then parts of the Earth have a very weak magnetic field. The whole west coast of North America is one of them, and that's why you see probably so many people on the coast of California, so many progressive artists, musicians, entertainers, just deep thinkers, spiritual teachers. So I do, and also the Bible Belt in the U.S. is a strong magnetic field. So there you see a lot of people rooted in old tradition, not necessarily going beyond the old tradition. No judgment here. I have judgment. I'm just pretending I don't have judgment. So what that makes me curious about, special guest. What that makes me curious about is what the magnetic field strength, not the electromagnetic field, because Zephyr would say they're different, but what the magnetic field strength is of these vortexes.
Yeah, I'm super curious about it. You can feel it. It's really obvious when you're in these places.
My scientific intuition would say they're potentially weak magnetic fields, but strong electromagnetic fields.
Yeah.
What do you think about all this, Bubby? So, Zephyr has Amber wrapped around his little paws.
Completely, and I'm totally okay with it because he's by far the cutest, most charming personality in a dog I think I've ever met.
In
honestly.
a dog, I was about to get jealous.
Yeah, don't worry.
I love you.
Yeah, he's something else. The way he poses and holds him, and he has these, I don't know if you guys can see them, these little turtle paws. They are so adorable. His legs are like this big, no joke.
Yeah.
Oh.
They're not dog paws. They are in fact turtle paws.
They are.
That's proven by science.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're such a good boy.
So I wanted to ask you, JP, what was the highlight for you during our Asheville trip? What did you like most besides your show? I know that show is such a huge highlight, and meet all of your fans and sign all the books and everything. But what were some of the other highlights?
I think some of the other highlights. So yeah, we'll go multiple on this. Mm-hmm. You meeting my parents meeting you.
Yeah, that was
everybody loving each other. That's awesome. So that was very special for me, no question about it. And let's see, you mentioned the Blue Ridge Parkway mountains, the view, just absolutely amazing. And I would also, the people in general in Asheville were wonderful.
So sweet.
People coming up to me, people coming up to you, and just sharing love, gratitude, appreciation. It's like, wow, how can I not feel wonderful right now? How can I not like, it was such powerful reflections of the work I do, the work you do. Like, it really matters because I'm self-identified with my work. I assume that means I matter, which is super codependent, but it happens. I'll leave you solo, sweetheart.
Oh, great, thanks.
Zephyr out.
I'm curious how you guys are doing tonight. Feel free to leave comments, and love to chat with you guys and get to know you more.
I like all the angry faces on Facebook, and if you're on YouTube, you won't see angry faces.
Send us some love.
How about you give some hearts to the probably the one person leaving angry faces? And I will tell you this, angry person, the reason why you're angry is because you're watching this video and it is not meeting your expectations. So I just want to assure you that all of your anger is 100% generated by this video. Nothing to do with your outlook on life. But I tend to believe that we see what we are. And not necessarily what we are, but we see what we feel that we are. So if we're deeply angry, I think we look around and we just see a lot of stuff to get angry about. Yeah. And if we're in a state of gratitude, it's weird. Like, we're in the same freaking world and we look around and we're like, wow, look at all this to be grateful about. And I think it's important to like let ourselves be dynamic and not just a manic personality disorder where we're stuck in one place or another. But I find it very beneficial when I'm stuck in a little bit of a low place to really do my best to wake myself up out of the hypnotic trance and ask, how am I perceiving the world? And why am I perceiving the world in such a way that all I see is anger? And I would dare say, the more I see anger outside of me, that's typically a symptom of how much I'm not seeing the anger I have inside of me about me. I think the only reason why life reflects that to us through our perception of the outside world is life, for some reason, in my opinion, wants us to know thyself. So if we're avoiding thyself, it's like, in my opinion, the greatest trick life plays on us is our eyes point outward, but all we see is what's inward. So if we're really avoiding the deliberate look inside, in other words, avoiding looking at ourselves, then life says, okay, I'll show you yourself. I'm just outside. Moral of that story is you should be angrier at this video than you actually are.
We're getting more love now. People are sending us love. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, and I want you to know there's nothing to love about this video. You're just projecting your love for yourself onto this video, which I appreciate.
Hey, love is good, man. Love is good. Just spread the love, people. Come on.
More fun projection, I think.
Yeah, it's good.
And I'm curious, earlier today on your Instagram story, which, by the way, if you want to follow an Instagram yogi who I think my video I put out probably about a year ago, it's called, what is it called?
How to be an Instagram yogi, or how to, I forget the exact title, but
I think how to take a yoga photo for Instagram. Mm-hmm. If you want to see essentially who I was portraying in the video, even though you and I didn't know each other at the time, follow Amber. Epic, her handle is epicself.com. Mm-hmm.
It's Epic Self, on Instagram, just Epic Self, no .com there.
That's my JP, website, wow, you're welcome to social media at epicself.com.
He's a professional.
That's how that works. So anyway, earlier today on your Instagram stories, you were asking you what our intention is for the week.
Yeah.
And I'd be maybe curious, I don't know if your intentions changed or not, but maybe get to that in a second, but
sure.
You asked it in such a way that definitely intrigued me, and I loved it, where you were, tell me, I'm going to probably butcher this, but you were asking what's your intention for the quality that you're looking to experience?
Yeah.
Would you mind elaborating what that means and why?
Yeah, sure. So I love to set intentions, and I'm super goal-oriented as well. I have been my whole life. And so I think, but what I've learned over the years is that what's actually more powerful for me is setting intentions about the qualities that I want to invoke in my life, meaning how I want to feel in a moment. So instead of saying, okay, my intention for the week is to get this said project done and check off all the to-dos in order to get there, actually what I want to invoke is a quality of, whether it's presence, right, just being fully present in all my moments, or it's being more joyful, or it's being just more in a state of flow and surrender and acceptance versus like forcing so much. I spent a decade just like driving really hard at my goals and building my business and really burning myself out in the process and not enjoying my life along the journey. So it was like, how can I start to enjoy the journey in every moment? Well, it's really related to how I feel. So if I can do my 10 to-dos in the day, let's say, really stressed out, really anxious, really just like put so much pressure on myself that yes, I get it done, but I've really just created an anxious mess inside of me the whole day. Or I could approach it with ease and grace and understanding that like it's all gonna work out, it's all gonna get done. But staying present with that ease and that playful quality. For me, being so serious in developing my business over the last 10 years and being such like a hardcore perfectionist type A person, I just ran myself into the ground, and I missed out on what felt to me like 10 years of just enjoying my life and enjoying the journey and being present and joyful and playful. So now, like, the theme of this year, the last 6 months into this year, has very much been about play and adding more play into all parts of my life. So yeah, and you help in such a huge way in that way, because JP's always so playful just in any conversation. He's always coming up with stuff. Yeah,
I think you're projecting onto me.
He's actually way more funny in person than he is in his videos.
I want to give you an angry face. I'm gonna get on this. Give me your phone.
I'll go back and just do 10 hearts and beat you. So love wins. Love always wins.
You're probably right. Tony Robbins has a saying just gets me in the heart every time. It's just so striking, where he says achievement without fulfillment is the ultimate failure.
I could not agree more.
And to me, your perspective on setting intentions that are quality based, feeling based, to me that's very inner fulfillment oriented. And I know you, so I know you're not just indifferent to what actually happens. I know you achieve a hell of a lot. You have, and you will continue to achieve even more. But there's just so much deliberate intent on the fulfillment aspect. And I think it's actually very easy to achieve a lot. I mean, it takes a lot of hard work, but it's very easy to create a lot of hard work. And I know so many people, and you're looking at one of them, who have worked their butts off to achieve a lot, and then sit here and say, pardon my language, God damn, this feels empty.
Yeah.
Because
what was I doing it for? Like, at the end of the day, I climbed this ladder, I set these goals, and I achieved them, but what did I do in the process? Did I enjoy my life? Did I have those special moments that mean everything? Was I fulfilled in the work I was doing? I think both of you and I are really blessed, and we've really followed our passions and our hearts and the things that make us come alive inside. But I think that it took us a while to get there. And I also think that the average person going after their dreams doesn't necessarily do that. They don't pursue the things that light them up inside, and like, you know, what their heart is really telling them to do, and living on purpose. And so that lack of fulfillment is going to find you one way or another.
Yeah. You know, I think what I would challenge you to do, probably just because I need to challenge myself to do it. By the way, Zephyr's back in the room, just so everybody's clear on this.
It's important. He should be a part of the conversation.
Well, he wanted to lay down. We're not going to pick him up just yet. But yeah, so what I would challenge all y'all to consider doing when you're picking out your next goal, taking yourself to the next level. Cheesy things. I'm looking to take things to the next level. All right, next level, whatever that is to you. Figure out, like, what do you actually want to feel?
Yeah.
My experience is a lot of times when we're hallucinating what goal do I want to achieve, it's like we're blindly grasping to feel better than we do. I think inherently we know we want to feel better than we actually do. So why not just take the wisdom of this beautiful divine goddess and get clear on how do you want to feel? Are you looking for happiness? Are you looking for peace? Like well, it's all available, but you can get clear on that. Otherwise, in my opinion, it's like we're all hungry people, and then we go out acting out a lot of chaotic behavior because we haven't gotten clear on what we're hungry for.
Right.
So we might go like watch 9 movies in a row because
and eat a tub of ice cream.
Yeah, because we're not clear on like I actually want real food that has nutrition in it. So I love the idea of like, what's your intention on how you want to feel?
Well, I think the other point too. The other point too is that it's available in every moment. I think that people really think, oh, it must be delayed. Like, oh, and like maybe at the end of the day I'm going to be happy because I finished my to-dos, or maybe at the end of the year when I finish this project. But the reality is that happiness is available to us right now, in this breath, in this moment. And once you start to live your life from a place of presence and understanding that I have access to this feeling right now, then you stop delaying this and stop putting in front of it like, oh, I need to have this car, I need to have this, you know, this partner, I need to have this, whatever it is that you're reaching for, this food. And you can just sit with yourself and breathe and be like, no, it's all good right now. And I'm super grateful for everything I have.
Oh, sorry, Zephyr. I thought I had my phone on Do Not Disturb. Someone on Facebook, someone just called me. I'm going to delete them from my contact list.
Forever. They're banished.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the idea of, just like you said, setting goals like, you know, okay, here's my goal to make $1 million. But really, how do I want to feel? I'm just projecting a story on $1 million to really unconsciously beg to feel a certain way. But if you get clear on, okay, how do I imagine $1 million would make me feel? It probably wouldn't make you feel that way. Right. But if we get clear on that and realize, like, okay, you don't have to wait until a year, 10 years into the future to feel whatever you think that would make you feel. You can search for it like right now. Eckhart Tolle would be furious at you if you waited to the future, until the future, to feel what it is you're wanting to feel. How angry would Eckhart be right now, sweetheart?
Extremely.
Oh, just guy, rageful. Guy hates time.
I think
he has no time for time. Sorry to cut you off.
That's okay. I think the one way to access that space is with gratitude, though. Gratitude is something that JP and I practice every morning that was a big part of our routines when we were, you know, getting to know each other and single. But then to like get to practice gratitude together has been an awesome bonding exercise, you know, and to connect. And I think also in our moments, it's like if we want to feel that joy and that peace that comes from gratitude, it comes from acceptance of ourselves. It also comes from connection to ourselves and to each other. You know, connection is one of the things I love so much about JP's work. He's all about connection, and he was saying his intention tonight for this video was to connect more with me, and to build a deeper bond and also more connection with you guys. So, yeah, I just love your work for that reason.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, gratitude. How medicinal is that? Like you don't need a vial full of gratitude essential oil or any kind of special plant or animal or unicorn. Like gratitude is it's a freaking natural resource. It's incredibly sustainable. It's incredibly nourishing, incredibly medicinal, incredibly magical, incredibly spiritual, incredibly levitational. And like it's always there. And I think the more grateful we are, the more we see things to be grateful for. I think it's just like the angry faces. The angrier we are, the more we see things to be angry at. Yeah. And I think we're typically, I'm going to like super simplify things, yet it's my delusional opinion that we're in one of two states. We're either in a state of resenting what we don't have, or we're in a state of gratitude for what we do have. And I think the resentful part of us that always figures out how to see lack can look at what we don't have and just like completely bypass what we do have. Even if we have just a little bit, it figures out how to not see it. Yet, I think our eyes of gratitude figure out how to see so much in even a little bit to be grateful for. So it's kind of like I need something to be grateful for. No, you don't. I need awareness to figure out how to be grateful for what I already do have. And when I say what I do have, I think less about possessions, though, like that's fair game too, but more so like what do I have inside and what do I have in a connection with a person. Yeah. Here's a question for you. Why, what name should I use for God to not offend everybody?
Universe.
Why do you think the universe put more than one person on planet Earth? I don't know your answer. But my answer is maybe the universe wants us to have connection. It's like if the universe said, like, connection's not important, maybe it would have, like, spat down, like, one person on planet Earth. Like, okay, there's one person. It doesn't need connection. Or he or she, whatever the gender is. So, connection. And connection has been a huge, huge gift from our relationship. I mean,
very much so.
Let me talk about Amber like she's not here. Now I'll talk about her like she is here. You came into my life like a freaking force of nature, just absolutely blindsiding me. Amber and I met, excuse me, I just about threw up. Amber and I met in Costa Rica in January. We're both guest presenters at the International Tribe Design Retreat. And at the time, like, as I was rocking up to the retreat, the previous year or so, I had been single. And my mindset, and I would say this in so many conversations when people would ask, like, I don't want a relationship because I'm so married to my career. I'm so married to these projects, the creativity. It's like, I don't want to take the time to have a relationship.
Yeah, it takes time to prioritize.
It
Absolutely.
does.
Yeah.
And I absolutely believe that. And I think it was very true for me up until January. And then blindsided by you. And I had all these feelings that came up in me that, like, I didn't know these feelings actually existed. I didn't know the human heart could generate these kind of feelings. And they got my attention. Like, they really did. And it was very apparent. I want more of this, and prioritizing these feelings and the connection that generate these feelings, the relationship that generates these feelings, is a no-brainer. It's like a full harder no-brainer. It's a yes. And I think really what that boils down to is somehow the force of nature that you are, and somehow the force of nature that I am, we can connect in a way that I haven't allowed myself to, or been able to connect with another person before. So with our C word tonight, connection, that has been so nourishing for me. And right now I'm projecting a lot of beautiful things onto you because there's a lot of beautiful things to see and recognize and learn about in Amber, and you've given me so much. I also want to appreciate myself because I had been incredibly defended to connection.
I remember in one of our first conversations, and you said something like, "Oh yeah, I haven't been dating anybody for like a year," and I could tell you were really closed off to the idea of prioritizing just one woman in your life and making that a priority over your career. I could tell that was a wall for you. Yeah.
Yeah. You got my number for sure. So connection. Yeah. Here's my question for, hi Zephyr. I'm curious from your perspective, why do we as a species and individuals disconnect? If it's really the gluten-free vegan chicken soup for our soul connection that really feeds us, really nourishes us. And I'm talking about true connection, not codependency. So if true connection to self and other is really food for our soul,
yeah, very much so.
Why is it so hard to connect, and why do we disconnect all the time? Curious what your thoughts are.
Oh gosh, wow. Why do we disconnect all the time? I think we disconnect because we've felt pain in our lives, right? We've been through scenarios in our lives where we've been heartbroken. I've been through several relationships where I was extremely heartbroken, and you have to heal those parts in your heart to be able to open yourself up, to be vulnerable again with someone else, to be courageous enough to, and me as well in our relationship, it was very much, trusting like this connection is so strong between us that it's more important than my work schedule. And for him, it was, prioritizing our relationship over work for the first time in a long time.
Kind of forever.
Forever, yeah. Right? And so, it's like, it's being courageous enough to be that vulnerable, to put yourself out on the line, to possibly experience the most powerful thing that you've ever felt in your life, and that requires a lot of vulnerability, and it's scary. It's super scary, I think, but also when it feels that strong, it's like a no-brainer and your heart's just in it. But why I think people disconnect from themselves and from other people is just because they've experienced the pain of rejection before, and they don't want to experience that again. And those wounds go so deep that you just build these walls, these defense mechanisms around you, like a castle, that prevent anybody from coming in, and also really prevent you from receiving love. I think one of the greatest things that I've worked on in the last maybe 3 years is learning how to receive love. I'm really good at giving love. I think a lot of people can relate to that. They're really good at giving to other people, their kids, their friends, maybe their partners as well, but they're not good at receiving love, whether it's self-love or it's love from their partner. And so it was really, like with you specifically, like his love is so powerful for me that it's been a learning process of like surrendering to receiving all that love, and also remembering that I deserve that love. I think a lot of my past relationships, I didn't think I deserved it. And so I just settled for less. And so with JP, it was like, wow, this is the real deal. This is what I've been dreaming of my whole life, as kind of like my Prince Charming that walked into my life that, just took my heart by storm and was so powerful. So I was willing to go there and fully jump in. But,
thank you for that.
Yeah.
And my experience is absolutely, it takes way more courage to receive love, connection, acceptance than it does to give it. I think giving it really is the easy part. It's just
it is.
It's safer. It really is. But to actually receive that, like first off, to be, I think, energetically and emotionally open to receive, like we have to have our arms, if you will, metaphorically open, and that exposes our heart. I mean, it's easy to be closed off and protect ourselves in a psychological posture like this, but to actually receive someone, we have to be open, so it exposes the most tender aspect of our being, our heart. And I think the other thing about giving love means, it puts us in a position of being in control. When we're receiving love, now we're in the vulnerable position of surrender, which is the opposite of control. So if we're in a state of surrender, receiving love, that means we are not in control. By the way, how could you possibly receive love if you're in a posture of control? I don't think you can. I think control and love are kind of like oil and water. They displace each other. So if we're in the mindset of control, good luck finding any love. It's all around you, but you're not breathing it in. So when we're in that state of surrender, of receiving love, from other people or ourselves, guess what? It can be taken away because we're not in control. And sometimes it is taken away.
Yeah.
But I think we fear it will be taken away far more than it will be taken away.
And that prevents you from ever stepping in.
Freaking hell.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you mentioned
1000%.
like being hurt in the past.
Yeah.
So that teaches us like, okay, I've been hurt. I think all of us, at least once upon a time, if not many times, we have allowed ourselves to feel love. And why we close off what I heard you say is because we've been hurt. Yeah. And I think our brain, when we're living in our brain, not our heart, our brain says, okay, that hurt thing, when that love was withdrawn, that really sucked. It hurt. Mm-hmm. And our self-preservation mentality says, if something hurts, then it could actually kill me eventually. Pain equals potential death. So our brain being oriented around, or many parts of our brain being oriented around self-preservation, it says receiving love is not a good thing. Like, it'll give you a great life. It'll fulfill you. It'll be amazing. But it's not going to help you survive. You don't need to be loved in order to survive, says the brain. Yeah. And Tony Robbins, I guess it's Tony Robbins quoting our... he has another saying which I love, which is something along the lines of, the brain is oriented around helping you survive, not thrive. It's not meant to make you happy. Making you happy is your job, and that also means you're separate from your brain, your thoughts. So with that said, I think the idea that we've all been hurt, and the brain says, don't put yourself in the position where you've been hurt before, because it might happen again. And honestly, it might.
Well, I think that's part of the pain of being in love, is that it is it's not fleeting. It can be fleeting, right? Where I think when you really dive into being fully in love with someone or with yourself, even, more amazing, I think, is to be super in love with yourself, and then from there be able to love other people, right? That's a huge part of it. But I think that when you feel that immense love, you also feel the exact opposite. You can't numb, you can't, like Brene Brown says so beautifully, you can't selectively numb emotions. So when you are all in, you are loving like more than you've ever felt in your life, that also means that you're going to be more sad and more frustrated and more angry, possibly, when that partner leaves, or when something goes, let's say your partner, passes on, or something happens like that. Like, that pain is going to be far more intense than, an experience with someone that you didn't love as deeply. So I think you're really putting yourself out there. But I mean, in my mind, why not? Why not feel all these things? I think people are so afraid to feel pain. Yeah. And for us, even knowing that we're not going to be, we'll get only 4 more days together before I leave for 2 weeks. And there's a really big bittersweet part of that, because we're going to miss each other a lot. But I wouldn't trade that for in exchange for losing this connection, the love we feel for each other. It's worth it 1,000%. So
yeah, I agree. So to live from our heart, I think what I'm learning from you, wise lady, to live from our heart, it has a consequence. One of the consequences is we get to receive immense connection and love. And I know love is a little bit of an abstract term, but screw it, we're using it. And another consequence is when we live/love from our heart, we also experience the other spectrum of sensation, which isn't pleasure, it's pain. And what I heard you say, quoting Brene Brown, is you have to have both if you're living in your heart. It's a fact of life. You can't just have one. And I think a lot of us and I'm so guilty of this many times in my life, I look at that, and it kind of unconsciously, I look at that and say screw it. I'm not willing to accept both. I'm not I want just the pleasure, but I'm not willing to accept that. So I'll just live in my head for a while. Right. And I'll be so numb that I'm numb to the fact that I'm numb, and I don't feel loved. I don't allow myself to feel loved. But a little friend I have on my desk, this is my turtle. His name is Jenkins.
Does he jiggle? Does he have a little... Oh, yeah.
He's kind of squishy. Yeah. So
he is squishy, yeah.
I've had Jenkins on my desk for a few years because I need the reminder of what he symbolizes to me. What he symbolizes to me is to come out of my freaking shell and let the vulnerable parts of me be exposed to the world. All the time? Probably not. Might be a good life if I could do that, but for me, at least some of the time. The alternative is Jenkins goes into his shell, he never comes out, but he's protected, plays it safe, living life just from his self-preservation perspective that says the purpose of my life is to preserve my life. And you just consider, if the turtle went inside of his shell and never came out, what kind of life is that? Like in the beginning,
extremely
it's like...
boring.
Yeah, in the beginning, it's like, yes, I feel safe. And then it's like, wow, this is so boring.
No, nothing worth living for is in the shell.
Yeah, and then Jenkins told me after he lived in his shell for long enough and got so bored, he said, coming out of my shell, that feels risky. Like I could risk death, maybe physically, certainly psychologically. And then Jenkins says, yeah, I'm willing to risk being scared to death in order to actually live my life. Why am I willing to take that risk? Because I've avoided my life long enough by living inside my shell that now I'm willing to risk the consequences of going on the other side, because life is pretty boring. It's pretty confining in the self-induced coffin that we all have around our hearts from time to time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jenkins.
Such a good reminder to have on your desk like that.
Yeah. Now he's on
I have to point out one of my favorite signs that JP has, which is the do epic shit sign. And this is so perfect. My brand is Epic Self, and it could not be more. I told him, I was like, I think I might just like stuff this in my bag and take it out with me. It's so perfect. I wonder where you got this. Can I get one? Can I order one online? That's so perfect. Maybe. And it's such a great reminder, right? Every day you can look at that and be like, you know what? Life is too short to play small and to not do the things that light you up inside.
Yeah, do epic shit. That basically, that's like saying like, live outside of your shell. Like you always have the shell available to you. But like do small stuff is like live inside your shell. But epicness, from my point of view, is life on the other side of our shell.
Yes.
I got that in Austin, Texas.
Oh, you did?
I think you can probably get them.
Okay.
I'll
have to look it up.
Places closer by.
Okay. Amazon, probably.
I might get you one for your birthday.
Oh, that'd be cool. Thank you.
Zephyr's laying on my leg and has fallen asleep.
He's sleeping.
So, my love, here I am. I'm sitting by the most flexible person I know. And I had my leg crossed in like not a very impressive fashion, but still like
no judgment. It's okay.
Almost died from it.
No Baddha for you.
that word is a big one.
I know.
I don't know what it means.
It means it's butterfly pose. Yeah.
No.
Which he does very well, by the way.
Has anybody ever died from inflexibility poisoning?
I don't know.
I feel like I almost did. Being a victim right now.
He's lying. He's so flexible. You're really flexible.
You think so?
Yeah, very much so.
Oh.
We took our first yoga. Well, you took my yoga class at Tribe Design, and I was like, wow, his down dog's really good. Yes, open hamstrings.
Won her over with my down dog.
Absolutely.
Has there been anything else about me that's appealed to you other than my down dog?
So many things. It's hard to name.
She's just making that up. So no.
I have like a list of 1,000 things I love about you. Yeah, the first one that comes to mind, I think, is first of all, he's so handsome, so sexy.
Sometimes it doesn't come across on video, but it's like immensely more powerful in real life.
Very magnetic, let me tell you. And the second thing that I love so much about you, I mean, this is not in priority, ranking, but is how present you are and how just like you're just such an open communicator about everything. He's just really high integrity and also just so easy to talk to about anything and everything. And I remember when we first started talking at Tribe Design, and we got into these really deep conversations, and I actually went through like I started crying about something in my life, and he was so there for me, and wow, just held space in such a remarkable way. And I remember being like, wow, this is the next level conscious man that I've been looking for in my life, that I can really communicate with openly, and be okay being vulnerable with you, and you wouldn't judge me for that, and you wouldn't. So that was a big thing for me.
Oh, I appreciate you sharing that. That's super sweet.
Yeah. And then I learned he was an emotional healing coach, and then I went, oh, it all makes sense. It all makes sense why you're that good at communicating with people.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And now I'm compelled to share at least one of the things that really struck me the most about you, which is how you step into your power and live from a place of purpose, and you have your voice, and you represent your truth, in my opinion, in a very powerful way.
Thank you.
And that is that's a quality in any person, and in this case, my lady partner, that's a quality that immensely appeals to me. It's a quality of, I would call it deep inner strength, not like superficial strength, but like deep strength. Someone who lives from their purpose, they represent their truth, and they'll voice it. I love that about you.
Thank you. Yeah, that means a lot to me, because that's really so much of why I do what I do. I definitely live on purpose, and I love empowering other people to live on purpose. So that means a lot to me that you saw that in me.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the purposeful things that Amber and I have had a chance to do is, I guess it was last month at this point, we filmed a video together in Costa Rica at Posada Natura. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Posada Natura. It's a, how would you, retreat center or just ayahuasca center?
Yeah, it's a shamanic healing center. So primarily they work with ayahuasca. That's their primary plant medicine there. Yeah.
Cool. So we had a chance to go there and film a video called "If Trump Drank Ayahuasca." In a second, say more about that. But if you've been scrolling through my YouTube page recently, no, not YouTube. It's still on YouTube, but scrolling through my Facebook page recently, you might have seen that video is no longer available. Because that video is no longer available, Facebook took it down. Yet, I'll be putting it back up with a vengeance here before too long. But it is still on YouTube. So if you haven't seen the video called "If Trump Drank Ayahuasca," feel free to check that out. That's Amber and I having fun. And in our opinion, spreading a very important message. And Amber was very instrumental in that video. I mean, one, you were there acting, but also creating the video, because I've never taken part in an ayahuasca ceremony, and you've done a lot of your self work and being a part of retreats where you bring other people to reputable shaman.
Yeah,
can't stress that enough. Reputable
important.
Shaman. Did you know you can call yourself a shaman? And that doesn't make you a shaman, in my opinion. So a reputable shaman. So Amber was very instrumental in bringing, I think, the authentic qualities and changes and transformations that potentially come from ayahuasca ceremonies, bringing that in to the video and conveying our fairy tale message that we wanted to convey. So I'm curious, from your point of view, the "If Trump Drank Ayahuasca" video, what's the deeper message behind that, or one of the deeper messages?
Well, first of all, before I answer that, I wanted to tell you how fun it was to create the video. And I was really nervous because I don't act. I've never acted before in that way. So it was really fun and challenging. You act like you've never acted. Yeah. It was nerve-wracking because he's such a pro. And for me to... so anyway, yeah. It was fun and equally nerve-wracking. But... I'd say the deeper meaning in that is just that, for me, I've been working with plant medicine for about 3.5 years now, specifically ayahuasca, and I've sat in several ceremonies, and for me, it's the messages that come from these plants, from the spirits of these plants, is very much about protecting the earth and very much about connecting to your heart and healing your heart. And so the message that we were trying to get out with that video was very much not only to respect this sacred tradition and this medicine, but to also really take this subject, which means a lot to both of us, and make it and keep it light, because there's so much gosh, hate out there right now in the political scene. And some of our friends and colleagues were like, oh, you guys are like getting into politics, and how do you navigate that, and is that too much to go into that? And for me, it was like, no, I think it needs to be talked about, and I think it needs to be done in a light way that can inspire and empower what we want to see in the world, which is, I think most of us want to see a big positive shift in consciousness, right? In connection to Earth, connection to each other, and unifying people versus separating people. Yeah, and I think that this medicine in particular teaches us that, and so beautiful to put it into a video and put it out into the world.
Thank you for that perspective. And I would add to it that one of my intentions with the message of that video is a message of hope expressed in a playful way. Yeah. So if you watch that video, you see like my role is I'm reporting the news, as though like 6 months after if Trump was, if he went through an ayahuasca ceremony. And really what I was reporting on is like the world that I want to see, that I hope for, where it's a world where the news is filled with stories of unity, not division, peace, not war.
Respect for the earth.
Absolutely.
And people.
People crusading for people, not people crusading against people. Yeah, very much so. I think we used Trump as a pawn because he's, if you haven't noticed, he's our president. And I think a president has the power to create a lot of change for the positive or the negative. So in the story of the video, wanted a character, if you will, who would be the springboard for the change that my hopeful self hopes for. So to me, just a straightforward message of hope. This is what I hope for. And I did see some of the initial comments on the video were negative comments, which I guess that's the first time there's ever been negative comments on the internet. Did you realize that? It's weird.
Yeah, it's like this weird anomaly on that video, the negative comments like just pouring in.
I didn't know that could happen. It was like the person who keeps making the angry faces. By the way, whoever's making all the angry faces on Facebook feed, not the YouTube feed, careful about developing tendinitis in your fingers. I'd recommend making sure you ice your fingers after this. Maybe go to do some cryotherapy. Have a very low acidic, high alkaline diet, because I think you're going to really need to recover after your thousands of repetitions of angry face with your angry face production with your angry finger. Anyway, I'm very passionate about preventing tendinitis.
Yeah, it's important.
So with that said, some of the initial negative comments on the video were, JP, I saw several of these. JP, I am unfollowing you because you're doing a political video, which is like, awesome. That's fine. And I realize you needed to tell me that, and that's fine too. And I also found it interesting that not all, but certainly some people saw it as a political video simply because there's a political figure in the video. And like, I get it. There's confusion about that. But I also found it interesting, like, how there's politics around the idea of avoiding doing political videos. So it's like trying to avoid it is actually falling into the game of being political
falling
with
into
it.
The game. Absolutely. So, falling into the fear and the hatred that's being spread all over the planet right now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So with that said, like, and I'd be curious your perspective. From my perspective, video wasn't meant to be political at all. Certainly wasn't from my perspective. Maybe it was yours. And also I want to be very clear. The video was absolutely not meant to bash Trump. It was...
If anything, it empowered him.
Yeah, like hopefully.
Hopeful, right? Hopeful and empowering.
Absolutely.
The words that came out of my mouth were actually, he's an incredible human being. So I think that was very ironic that people were taking that as like Trump bashing, when in actuality I think it's just hoping for him to open his heart and start to possibly see the world with new eyes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And like I just wonder, like, how amazing of a human being might he be underneath the role he plays, the
Absolutely.
identity that he has, not the identity that he is, not who he is, but the identity that he has. Mm-hmm. So that's like a mystery that I think is a little bit underappreciated. Like, that is a human being.
Absolutely.
It really is. He's just like you and I. He just has a different role. And I would say a higher amount of the illusion of power. Does he actually have more power? I would dare say only if you give your power away to him. So I'm curious if you have any other thoughts to share or perspectives on that video and why that video.
I think it's also really important. It's it's important for a lot of reasons, but one of the things I remember being excited about was my friends in the community that I live in Costa Rica, and all of us are very passionate about working with ayahuasca, and so for us to get a message out there, via our video about the power of these plant medicines, specifically ayahuasca, was a really special opportunity to share the messages that come through from the work with her. Yeah.
I like that. And a question for you, because I've been exposed to, I would say, a lot of communities that use ayahuasca from my point of view in a very disempowering, dangerous perpetrator kind of way. And I've certainly been exposed to some communities that use it in what we might call a very sacred way, and I know that's what you stand for, and those are the people you associate with. So I'm curious for people out there, what do you want to what do you want to avoid in whether they call themselves a shaman or not, but in terms of a potential ayahuasca experience, what the hell do you want to avoid?
Yeah, and it's a real issue nowadays, unfortunately, because it's unfortunately become trendy to try or experience this medicine, this extremely sacred and powerful medicine. And people fly to Peru to go to some ceremony somewhere that costs $100, and they're in a hut in the jungle somewhere with mud floor, and they're given a cup of this medicine, and that's their experience. And that's tragic, because that's not how I strongly believe it should be experienced, and that can really just turn someone off to something that can be extremely, extremely beneficial for their lives. And so for me, I'd say the number one things to look for, just look for really amazing referrals from friends, from family, from community boards. There's a lot of websites online where you can, read about. I'm also happy to give recommendations if people are, wanting to reach out to me about where to go in Peru or where to go in Brazil. I can point you guys in the right direction to some. You want to basically work with the most experienced shaman you can find, which means those that have been working 20, 30 years beyond. Find the elders who are extremely entrenched in the traditions. This is a 5,000-year-old tradition that has been passed on through the generations, and so working with curanderos and shaman who have been, their 4th generation, 5th generation, working with this medicine in their communities, those are the people that you want to be working with, because those are the true healers. Those are the people that are healing on every level.
Yeah, so what I heard you say essentially is referrals are from...
Do a lot of research and referrals are really important. And also small, intimate ceremonies versus there's many people are going to 50 to 100 person ceremonies. That is too big, in my opinion and in my experience. It's really important to keep the group small. It can be a very, very life-changing experience for someone. And so for them to be in a room of 20, even 20 people is a lot. So to be in a small circle with many assistants to assist during the process, and also have a very experienced shaman who is respecting the traditions, who isn't adding in all sorts of modern day things, but is really holding true to the traditions of these ancient indigenous tribes.
But if it's 100 people, that's better scale, which means it's going to be more profitable for the people putting it on. So that sounds better to me.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, that's what's happening in that whole world. Is the tourism industry in Peru, for example, is going to Iquitos. I went last year for the first time, and Iquitos is kind of the hub of the ayahuasca industry in Peru. And the people, I was reading in the paper, like something like 60% of the visitors that go there are going there just to drink ayahuasca.
Oh,
and
wow.
so, yeah, but unfortunately, then there's a lot of competition, and there's like 20 retreat centers, and there's also many other kind of charlatan shaman serving, quote, shaman serving this medicine in just horrible conditions,
Yeah.
right? Where there are 50 to 100 people, they're paying maybe $100 to experience this medicine, but the reality is what they're gaining from it is nothing compared to what it could be if they really found the right people and the right scenario, the right environment. The container that you're in is very, very important. That is, you feel safe, you feel supported. And if you don't, then you really only can go so deep because you're still in a state of fear subconsciously. So it's very important that you feel super safe and supported.
Yeah, I like that. And one of the messages I hear is don't take the path of convenience.
Absolutely
is an
not.
experience.
Or of cheap convenience. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like you get what you pay for. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the type of thing, from what I understand, that doing it right with the right people is essential. Not what's the quickest, what's the cheapest, what's the most convenient.
Right.
Unfortunately, not. It's kind of like, yeah, if you were gonna climb Mount Everest, you intuitively you need a guide. And you wouldn't just go with a guy like, yeah, I've been doing mountain guiding trips for 2 weeks, a lot of experience.
I started today, actually.
Yeah. You'd probably go with a person who's been doing it for decades, and they have the tradition of an ancient people that they're honoring on how to climb a mountain. So I am very passionate against what I would call pseudo-shamanism. In fact, I think it's the 5th ultra spiritual video I did way back in the day. It's called Using Ayahuasca. Feel free to check that out. And it's really not about ayahuasca at all. It's about the pseudo-shamanism and really, really dangerous mountain guiding that can happen in convenient ayahuasca circles. And yeah, the setting is so important. You mentioned a safe container.
Extremely safe container. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing some of your wisdom. And
Sure.
I'm curious, and I know this could be like a 9-hour long answer to this question.
Sure.
But and that's okay, actually, if it's 9 hours. But I'm curious, what have been some of the personal benefits and if I want to use the word breakthroughs, but
Sure.
what's been some of the personal benefit you've gotten from your plant medicine work?
Wow, I could go on for a long time.
9 hours.
Yeah, 9 hours.
Yeah, I think my batteries might die before that, but
Yeah,
I'll keep
I'll
listening.
keep it short. I'd say, well, like for example, with my first ceremony, I cried for about 4 hours, and I released about what felt like 10 years of emotional baggage. And for me, that was a huge wake-up call of understanding the importance of my emotions and understanding that processing and feeling the pain, feeling the sadness, because I was really good, and I think many of us are extremely good at stuffing down our pain, our insecurities, whatever frustrates us, makes us angry or sad. We're really good at stuffing all that down and not feeling it. And I used to be extremely good at that. And I hadn't let myself cry for probably about 6 or 7 years. And at the time, I had moved to Costa Rica, and I had done all this, opened up a wellness center on my own, and did all these left my life as a professional dancer. I'd done these really big leaps, and hadn't processed any of that. Hadn't processed what that meant to leave my identity as a dancer and move to a new country and open up this whole thing by myself. And before that, all the years leading into that as well, that I didn't let myself process or reflect on. So my first ceremony very much taught me the importance of feeling emotions, and that if I don't feel them, then I can't keep going forward. I have to heal the pain that's wreaking havoc on my heart and really creating these energy blockages. Otherwise, I can't expand in my personal life. I can't learn to love myself fully. I also can't expand professionally, because those are the insecurities and the pain blocks that are keeping me where I'm at. And So that was like one lesson. But there's so many. I mean, for me, it's really been a journey of self-love and honoring my body for like falling in love with my own beauty for the first time in my life. Some of you might know, but I was severely bulimic for 5 years in my early 20s. And I, through my ceremony work, was able to really get, though I no longer was bulimic during my first couple ceremonies, these ceremonies allowed me to look at the root and see the root of why I had been doing that to myself for so long. Like, what were the root, whether it was like the trauma points in my life, like when I was 13 years old and someone told me I was fat, or whatever, like those points were in my life. But it also brought up all of the emotions related to that and let me see what those roots were. And so that was a game changer, of course, because when you can see those things and feel them and process them and release them forever, then they no longer haunt you and affect your everyday life. So loving myself, also compassion, patience, and understanding for other people. So when you fully connect to your own heart and feel your own heart expand in ways that you've never felt before and fall more in love with yourself, then you realize like your heart is infinite in its ability to give and receive. And so you learn how to give and receive love much better. And so for me, it was just like all my relationships changed. My friendships became so much deeper. My relationship to my family became a lot deeper. I realized like a lot of the patterns that I had in place were really preventing me from having deep, authentic relationships, that I was living in a really superficial way of connecting with people. It was kind of like, oh, my good friend, I see them like once a week or something, but there wasn't a really deep, vulnerable connection there. And then last but not least, I could go on for a while, but one that really resonates so much with me, which is a huge part of my work, is that this working with this medicine, and it connects you to your soul's purpose. So for me, I was already living my life on purpose, but it even more reminded me. Oftentimes these ceremonies are a way of remembering what we already know, which is how strong we are, which is how powerful we are. And so when we get to taste that and we go, oh my God, like I am this infinite visionary being who can create anything that I want in my life, then wow, what do you do with that knowledge, right? Then you go, okay, now I'm going to build the life. And I was already on that path, but this like clarified it. I think the biggest theme from a lot of people that come to ceremonies is clarity of purpose, and connecting to their hearts and feeling unconditional love for sometimes the first time in their lives.
So you mentioned before your first ceremony, you were already living on purpose, and I guess I would
alignment with my passions and
and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would guess that means you were already kind of living, lack of a better term, a conscious life.
Yeah.
So
a very serious one. Hardcore yogi, raw vegan, meditating, for like an hour a day. Like I was very strict in my spiritual practices. Yeah. What you make fun of so brilliantly.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. We're gonna playful you up a little more.
Yeah, for sure.
So you were living a conscious life. You're already connected to your purpose.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, a person who, let's just say maybe they're not even like coming out of the dark. They're still in the dark, trying to come out of it. Like let's just say they're 100% unaware of their purpose,
right.
And let's just say they're not really walking a conscious path yet. I guess my first curiosity is that a person who should even entertain using ayahuasca in the right scenario? Again, probably no one should use it in the wrong scenario with the wrong people.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm curious first off that.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, ayahuasca is the greatest gift you can give yourself, because no matter where you're at in your journey, whether you're a corporate CEO who runs your own company, who is making millions, I can't tell you how many people I've known who have been that person, who have come to a ceremony and it's shattered their ego so much that they realize that none of that matters, and that what they're really missing is connection and fulfillment in life and living on purpose. And so, yes, absolutely. It's actually exactly what I think is exactly what that person needs in their life, is to remember who they already are. Because I don't think that we are creating ourselves here. I think that we are remembering who we are. We're peeling back the layers of conditioning and stories and identities, and we're actually remembering who we are deep down, which is extremely powerful beings.
Yeah, you have to forget what you know so you can remember what you don't know, which is you. Mm-hmm. And so with that, you talked about your results, such a shallow word, but your results with your at least your first ayahuasca experience. So are you saying that someone who's just like beginning a conscious path, they typically can get similar results that you did?
Yeah, I mean, everyone's really different, and everyone's going to experience this medicine very differently, and every ceremony is very different. So what we always say to our groups and to people coming for the first time, we work with a lot of first timers. I'd say that the last 3 years it's been about 10 to 12 a month. So we have a lot of experience working with first timers, and our biggest thing that we always share is to have no expectations about, okay, I'm gonna have this grandiose experience of rebirth and ego death and connection to God and enlightenment and
Unicorns.
all that. Yeah, exactly. When in actuality it could be something very their experience could be, depending on the person, it could be not very eventful, because that's not what they need in their life right now. And so I think the medicine always gives you what you need, not what you want. And that's so coming in with any expectation about, I want to have this like big firework experience where I see a ton of visuals and I have these like ancestors visiting me, and like having all these preconceived notions or expectations really ruins the experience, because a huge part of the experience is learning to surrender and let go and trust the mystery that you're stepping into, which is the unknown. And so to fully honor that, you have to be willing to have no expectations.
I love that. And one of the things that you said, which I don't think needs to just be connected to during a ayahuasca ceremony, but is just so amazing otherwise, is having the mindset and asking like whoever you ask for things, your higher self, your prefrontal cortex, whatever, the universe, but asking for what you need, what you want. To me, that itself is so powerful.
Yeah.
Please, dear JP, allow me to be open to receiving what I need, not what I want. A lot of times, if not most of the time, they're not the same damn thing. I tend to believe that my wantingness, at least, I'll own it, my wantingness is typically derived around what's going to comfort me and what's going to gratify my ego. And I think what I need is typically oriented around what's going to challenge me, not comfort me, and what's going to shatter my ego, not gratify my ego. So can I live my life at least some of the time, as much as I can, in a way where I'm asking for what I need, what will challenge me, and what will maybe shatter my ego, rather than what I want, which is what will comfort me and what will gratify my ego.
Yeah, and oftentimes what we want is not what we need. And so being given what you need is and sometimes it's challenging. Facing your inner demons, facing the shadow side of you, so to speak, that's where the growth comes from, right? If we just live in light all the time and focus on all the comfort zone and all the fun, amazing things about life, which is awesome, and I'm there with you on that. But if we're not willing to face those shadow sides of ourselves, then we're stuck at a certain level of joy and peace and happiness. And so when you're willing to face those darker, deeper shadows of yourself and transmute that into light and walk through that, that's when you can really ascend into, let's say, a higher state of joy and peace.
I love that. Yeah. Just backtracking a little bit, I happened out of the corner of my eye, saw a question that came up on YouTube. Yeah. Directed at you.
Oh, what was the question?
Well, I'm going to share it. You're so impatient.
Clearly. You're so serious.
The question is, should some people not use ayahuasca, Amber? And I know I've heard you talk about it in the past, but I think to be complete and responsible, can you share who shouldn't use ayahuasca?
Yeah, so first of all, our ceremonies, the ones that I produce, we have a very in-depth health intake form, which is something you want to look for as well, that I want to give you guys a tip for, that you need to look first for facilitators that have a health intake form. It's extremely important that you're not on psychoactive medication like antidepressants, like anti-anxiety meds, that you're not suffering from heart issues. So there's certain medical health issues that can be major complications, and so it's very important that who you are applying to go to ceremony with is screening people for that extremely. And some people work with this medicine that are coming off a drug addiction and are looking for like major healing in that way. And in my opinion, that should not be done in a group setting. That should be a one-on-one experience. And so also asking the people who are facilitating ceremonies, like, are you allowing people who are going through major addiction, who are looking to come and heal some major things? Is that what you guys are offering? And make sure that they ask you, okay, are you taking these certain prescriptions? If so, you're not allowed to come to these ceremonies, and that's really important. Yeah. So no, it's not for everybody by any means, and it's really important that there's that screening. Yeah.
Thank you, wise woman. Yeah, I really do appreciate you sharing your experience, because I know you have a lot of life experience in a lot of things. In this case, we're talking about ayahuasca, so I think this does come from your wisdom, and I appreciate you sharing this.
Sure. Yeah, happy to. Want you guys to be super safe. Yeah.
And maybe before we sign off, because I know a certain beautiful woman and I have yet to eat dinner, I'd love to ask you.
Sure.
Just the talk about what you want versus what you need has got me challenged.
Oh, okay.
How do you think you're needing to challenge yourself in ways that you're not currently challenging yourself?
Okay, one more time. What ways do I want to challenge myself, or do I need to? Do I need to challenge myself? I would say ways I need to challenge myself that I'm not currently doing. Number one is doing more Facebook Lives on my personal page, because I have had this weird resistance to doing videos. And I've been working online and doing social media for 10 years, so it's very weird that I've had this resistance to it. But anyway, so I think that's a part of it. The other thing is, I don't know. I feel like I push myself into situations to challenge myself. So I feel like I'm pretty good with the challenging. I'd say that's one like professional thing I could be doing more. Personal thing I could be doing more is singing, actually.
Ooh,
yes,
like that.
Singing is something that I was told at a very young age that I had a really just like tone deaf voice, or that I was tone deaf and I had a horrible voice. And so for me, actually, in the last 2 years, thanks to being in ceremonies and singing a lot in ceremonies, and having friends inspire me and empower me to sing, it's opened up my throat a lot more, and now I feel really comfortable singing. So now, like, I sing in the car with JP, whereas before I wouldn't have sung in front of anybody because I really just didn't think I was good enough. And I've been a dancer my whole life, and so I was like, oh, that's my gift, right? Now I just won't develop singing, but I really wish I had as a young girl. So anyway, I'm doing that now. So that's stepping out of my comfort zone big time.
I like that. And I also like the paradox of dancing. So it's kind of like the curse of your gift of dancing is that it potentially blinded you to other gifts that you have, kind of like distracted you, like, well, that's my gift, which means I don't see all these other gifts over here.
Yeah, and I also just believed, the authority figures of the time who were telling me that.
So
and unfortunately, how that like sticks with you your whole life. You're told when you're 8 years old, oh, you're a horrible singer, and for some reason that's always in the back of your mind, and you carry that into your 40s and 50s, and then someone says, why don't you sing? And you're like, good question. I don't really know why, except that I just never thought I was a good singer. So that's sad. Because that would have been really great for my dance career, actually, to be a triple threat and to be able to sing and dance and act. And I just never pursued it. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing you sing more. I definitely, I don't know who said it. I don't know if anybody said it, but I perceive someone said it to me too, that I'm not a good singer. And it's weird. Like, I actually still believe that. But I enjoy singing with you in the car.
I know,
I just have this
time.
sense like, wow, I probably sound horrible, but it feels so good to sound maybe horrible with you.
Yeah, well, let's see. Yeah, we're horrible together then, aren't we?
Yes.
But I'm curious, I'm going to flip the table here and ask you.
You want to have control, okay?
It's all about control, JP, yes. What are the things in your personal and professional life that you need to challenge yourself with that you have not done so?
That's a good question. The need to challenge myself in the professional front is bringing more to my comedy videos than just the ultra spiritual character. I think that has been a blessing, and much like maybe your dance might have been, I also now see the shadow side of it, the curse of it, where it would be very easy for me to just get attached to, let me use this character as my expression of comedy, which would limit me to all the countless other expressions and dimensions of comedy that I could do on video in this case.
Yeah, for sure.
And actually in January, I was telling you about this. I was in San Francisco at the Yoga Journal Live conference. I was going to be going on stage to do comedy, and up until that time, I had always been in character on stage doing comedy live. Yeah. Headband on, flower in the hair. And something didn't feel right. I didn't know what didn't feel right before I went on stage. I just knew something doesn't feel right. And then shortly after the show, it was like the night before my next show, I think in Salt Lake City. And it dawned, don't be in character, JP. You're bigger than that. You need to spread your wings wider than what the beautiful confines of the character are, yet confines nonetheless. So
yeah, definitely.
Like the video you and I are filming tomorrow, it's a secret. We're not going to tell you what it is.
It's going to be super good though.
But in that video, like, I'm not in character at all. So I'm looking forward to exploring more.
Awesome.
So I think that's a professional challenge that I need. And then a personal challenge that I need, what came to my mind when I was listening to you, hopefully not ignoring you while I'm just paying attention to what's coming up in my mind. I heard what you said.
You're a great listener. I trust you on that one.
I've told her that I'm a great listener. So you're a great listener really. To hear that I'm a great listener. And I appreciate that you believe me. Dancing. Like that.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one for you.
Sitting next to you, former professional dancer, and just you, the way you move, it is just three-dimensional art. I think it's way more dimensions than just 3 dimensions, but we'll call it three-dimensional art because I can't count all of them. So, yeah, I find it interesting that your gift, one of your gifts, dancing, is one of my biggest deficiencies. I've been living, for the most part, in a very self-induced straitjacket and not letting the energy flow through me in ways that happens when you dance. And I did have a big breakthrough in New Year's 2016 in Kauai at an international tribe design event. Rob Weber was, some of you guys might know him. He's Bali Spirit Fest, awesome DJ. Does,
yeah,
so
he
you
was
know,
there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he was the founder of Bali Spirit Fest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I taught at Bali Spirit, 6-7 years ago. Anyway, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So Rob Weber put on music, and it was a workshop he was doing at night, and he put on music, and then he just said dance.
Yes.
And all 100 people just started dancing, and it was just like, I feel like I have permission to dance and move super awkwardly, to basically be the toddler learning to walk a walk that it's never walked before. Yeah. So I did that, and that was, I want to really honor it, that was a breakthrough for me. And I also know there's a lot of depth to drill that would be beneficial for me. So personal JP would say dancing.
I love that. We should go dance together. I would love nothing more than to go dancing every night. So we could break more of those barriers.
That would be fun.
He's like,
no, I'm good with that. It's very intimidating.
Yeah.
It's not what I want, it's what I need.
Yeah, I understand.
But yeah, they just like the magnification of whatever my dancing issues represented, some kind of constriction inside of me. So the magnification of them being by a world-class dancer, JP, go dance with a world-class dancer so you can feel extra insecure about how you dance. That really sounds like a very powerful trial by fire.
That is.
Trial, I would say actually more so trial by grace.
Yeah. Well, and as I've told you before, though, with dance, how I see dance is if you're not having a good time, then you've lost the point of dancing. So for me, like, even if you're flailing like a crazy person, that, and you're owning it, you're having a good time, that's all that matters. And I think, he's maybe concerned that I need to like have moves and he needs to have a routine or something, but a routine, can you imagine? Some choreography. Routine. But yeah, I think if you're out there on the floor having a good time, that's what matters, and that's what dance is about.
Yeah, I'm gonna take that note. As far as what's important about dancing is have a good time.
Have a good time, yourself. Regardless of what you think you look like. Absolutely.
I like that. When I was 19, maybe I was 20, it doesn't even matter, but someone said, dance like nobody's watching. And he was saying it metaphorically about life, but
yeah, for sure.
Like literally in this case, dance like nobody's watching.
Yeah.
Have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And anything else? By the way, thank you for turning the question back on me about the challenges, and I so appreciate hearing your answers.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I wanted to add to your answer about his professional, you changing out of the character a little bit more and doing more JP. And I've been a big support and proponent of that because I really love JP being him. And I think one of your biggest, let's say, themes in what you teach is authenticity and being yourself. And so for you to actually be yourself in your videos and to be not funny all the time, I think it's a shame when people just expect you to be funny all the time and they're like, oh, you're not on. Like, aren't you going to crack a joke right now? It's like, but he's so much more than that. There's so many other, like, realms of JP, and you guys don't necessarily get to see that in his character videos. And so you get to see in his more serious videos for sure. But I think the more he is himself, the better. Yeah, so I super support that. Yeah, 1000%.
Yeah, and those are very supportive words for me to hear. Appreciate you. With that said, before we sign off, I would like to invite all of y'all to dig a little more into Amber's work if you're called to, and ignore the hell out of her work if you're called to. And she's tagged on the description of this video on Facebook. YouTube, sorry y'all, doesn't allow it. But you can go to Amber's public figure page, and from there there's links to your website, epicself.com.
Yes, thank you.
And I know you've got a lot of wonderful retreat offerings that are incredibly intriguing and retreating, so people can check you out there. And also, I don't like to inundate people with like, here's 12 places to go find someone, because it probably means you won't check them out. But one other place I do just want to reiterate is following you on Instagram, which I always enjoy your insights as well as your beautiful photo art. Instagram, your epic self.
Yeah, Instagram is one of my favorite platforms. I love the art of putting photography with written word, and it's such a place for me to be an artist. So thanks for supporting that. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, with that said, all of you lovely people, thank you for joining us. We're going to...
We've loved all your hearts, and even the angry faces
It's all attention. And I realize the angry faces on Facebook, they're just a ploy to get our attention, and it worked. So congratulations on having control over us. So with that said, I'm just going to turn off the YouTube